Big Hero 6 is a great animated movie. I feel like it goes under the radar sometimes and people often forget it. But they shouldn't, because there are a lot of great messages that this movie gave us through its characters. In this video I want to talk about those characters. And to add a little bit of spice to it, I'm gonna rank the characters in a tier list as well. So let's start with the protagonist, Hiro Hamada. I think I'll put him at pretty great. His character went through a lot, as all Disney protagonists have. He lost his parents at 3, and his brother at 14, so you can already sympathize with him from the jump. Which is something that can be difficult sometimes for characters that are teens. Many times they're poorly written, and honestly just annoying. But Hiro is actually interesting because he wasn't this perfect character. No, he also had his flaws. He's impatient and impulsive. That's displayed well in the very first scene, when we see how poorly he's utilizing his strength for easy money. But also we see it after his brother's death, and how blinded by anger he was. So Hiro's flaws are set up very well by the movie. And to me, it makes him great, because we see some progression. He's not just a flat character throughout the movie. No, there are lessons that can be extracted from the protagonist, from the internal conflicts that he goes through. Firstly, how not to waste your potential and take the easy road, which in my opinion is a very important message nowadays. And also how to deal with loss, which is a tough subject for everyone because we all go through it. And everyone deserves to grieve, but equally, we shouldn't lose ourselves in anger or be stuck in that phase, because that's just the reality of life. We have to move on. These two themes are transmitted through Hiro to us in a great way, and it makes him much more impactful and meaningful character in my opinion. Now, why did I not put him at S tier? Honestly, because I remember watching this movie as a kid, and although I really liked the character and the movie, Hiro was just too unrelatable because of his extreme intelligence. I personally always felt alienated in some way when movies wrote young characters like that. Maybe it was just jealousy, I don't know. But even if we ignore the experiences of younger me, I think there is some truth in the difficulty of relating and really liking a character when they're painted a bit unrealistically. Next up is Tadashi Hamada, Hiro's brother. I think he did the job. He was there to push Hiro through his character arc, teaching him the lesson of not taking the easy road, but taking the right one. And I gotta give credit to the movie for doing that very well, because they had the exposition scene where we get introduced to all the characters simultaneously, with having Hiro get some character development, which was very natural. There was no cringy, here are your main characters scene, if you know what I mean. But back to Tadashi. Tadashi didn't just influence Hiro's character when he was alive, he did that even after his death, in a very moving scene with Baymax. Tadashi's death drove Hiro towards channeling his grief with anger and violence, but remembering his brother's character also snapped him out of it. So Tadashi was a very important character for the plot, and he had a great hand in Hiro's character arc, and the messages that came with it. Up next is Honey Lemon. This one's gonna be quick. I'll put her in the filler tier. The movie obviously tried to make her unique, and I actually appreciated their attempt in making chemistry interesting. That's a hell of a tough job. But at the end of the day, her character could have been replaced by someone else, or removed entirely, and it wouldn't have impacted the movie too much. That's not to say she's bad, you need filler characters in movies, but they're still fillers. On to Professor Robert Callaghan, the very unsurprising twist villain. I think he was a bit too cliché. The twist villain thing was very predictable, and he was way too over the top for me. He's not in that last tier of just bad, because at least the movie established understandable motivations for him. But even then, the way he went about achieving those motivations were way too over the top. Why go through all of this trouble of starting a fire, risking people's lives, and also faking your own death just to steal the microbots? And then start a production line to create an army of those microbots, and then go on a rampage in the city to kill the man that is to blame for your daughter's death. And I have to mention it's not confirmed that he did start the fire, but it's heavily suggested, so we can kinda assume he did. Anyways, all of that wasn't really needed for his revenge story. He didn't need to fake his death, nor did he need the microbots design, or this whole rampage that he went through. That's why I think he's just too cliché. His over-the-topness is not justified in the story, it's just for the plot, which makes him a mediocre villain. Up next is Gogo. This one's tough because she's one of the more developed side characters out of the Big Hero 6 theme, but I still think she belongs in the filler tier. She had a bit of personality and I actually liked when she was the first one to stand up in support of Hiro. but it's just not enough. Again, I'll go by the same logic. She could have been replaced or removed, and the movie wouldn't have been affected too much. Maybe they'd have to change the name to Big Hero too, but that's about it. On to Aunt Cass. This will come as a surprise to many, but I actually think Aunt Cass was pretty great. And the reason I say that is because of what she represents. Sure, she wasn't in many scenes, but she gave us a great look on what mothers and fathers deal with when it comes to their kids. And I understand everyone knows that raising a child is difficult. That's not groundbreaking news, but her character gives us a great look on how parents have to suppress their emotions to be that rock for their children, which I feel like is something that is overlooked sometimes. Again, everyone knows that raising a child is hard, but it was so eye-opening for me as an adult watching this movie and recalling the many times that something bad happened in the family, and I saw my mother act like Aunt Cass, that she held a brave face, even though she was in pain inside, just to make me feel better and make me feel like everything was okay. And listen, if a character is gonna invoke that much emotion and thought out of me, then I think they deserved a pretty great position. If it weren't for Mufasa and Kala, I might have just put her in S tier. On to Wasabi. Same thing again, he was just filler. Had some jokes in there, but not too many. I actually liked his character, but he could have been replaced or removed, so there you go. Now on to Fred. I know some people don't like him because he does come off a bit cringe, but not gonna lie, he was actually my favorite out of the side characters in the team. He was a bit much sometimes, but I have something for those characters that are always cracking jokes, because I always remember the funny friend meme after going home. And it was true for Fred, because we can see in the post-credit scene that he looks up to his father that wasn't really present. That post-credit scene was a good way to add an extra layer to Fred's character. Also, it had the Stan Lee cameo, which is always a plus. But after all of that, where will I put Fred? I think I'll still put Fred in the filler tier, because again, he didn't really have much bearing on the story, and he could easily be replaced. But to be fair, it is difficult to remove him, considering he was the main comic relief character besides Baymax. So you can make an argument for the fact that he did his job. You know what? I'll put him there. Don't come at me. Finally, saving arguably the best for last. Baymax. I really liked Baymax. Honestly, going into the movie for the second time, I thought I'd get bored of his character real quick. But on the contrary, I actually quite liked him. He wasn't just there as comic relief. No, he actually served as a vessel for our main protagonist, going through his character arc. Just like Tadashi, but in a bigger way. His scene in the garage when Hiro was trying to remove his flash drive, and he asked, "Would that make you feel better?" And then showing him videos of his brother. Brilliant scene. I'm not ashamed to admit that got me a little bit emotional. And his relationship with Hiro was great. First, the relationship dynamic between them, as Hiro the teen had the responsibility of teaching Baymax about different things, as he was the less naive character out of the two. Also seeing how the relationship progressed, as Hiro was not too fond of him at the start, and was dealing with his brother's death, and how Baymax helped Hiro get over his grief, and in that process, Hiro warmed up to him. Also him sacrificing himself at the end for Hiro and Callaghan's daughter, another scene that plays on the heartstrings. Especially after Hiro says, "I can't lose you too." That's good writing. So after all of that, where will I put Baymax? I think I'll put him up there with the best. He couldn't have been better. Top 5 animated movie robots for sure. So that was it for my ranking. Let me know if you agree or disagree. If you have any suggestions for the movie I should do next, let me know. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you in the next one.